Okay, how are you, students? I hope that you're doing fine, as I am. Even during this season that we need to really make ends meet. Welcome to our semester, the May-August semester. I'm your facilitator, Madam Genevieve Ombunda, and my contact is in the course outline. I do hope by now you've been able to access your course, and you've been able to check through and seen my details. My official email address is there, my ZTech email address and my contact. In case you have any issue, kindly feel free to contact me during working hours, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from morning up to from 8 to 1 p.m. Now, our class is scheduled for every Monday from 11 to 2 p.m. and I look forward to having an interactive time with you as we introduce this course and go through the course. Now, we were to introduce this course last week, but you had not enrolled yet for the course, most of you. But now that you are here, we shall move together. And basically, in our first class, it's just an introductory part whereby we need to acquaint ourselves with knowledge on what is expected out of us from this course on nutrition, therapy, and home nursing. Now, personally, I have that background of nutrition. I'm a nutritionist by profession, and therefore I know that we shall enjoy this course as we learn together matters to do with nutrition as you blend them with your course of study. The objectives of this unit are that by the end of it, or rather by the end of it, we want to ensure that we equip you with relevant knowledge, skills, and attitudes in this area of nutrition, diet therapy, and home nursing, because it's quite an expansive area, because issues through nutrition needs you to know the science of food in terms of the different types of nutrients. It needs you to know the different types of methods, or rather tools, that are used for diet planning, so that even as you do your food production and beverage diploma, you're able to have this knowledge at your background, because you may find yourself working somewhere like in a hospital setup, or even in a home where we have sick patients like the diabetics who need specialized diet. So that is where we have to go through this course that is important for you. Now, our learning outcomes is that by the end of this course, you should be able to explain how to prevent foodborne illnesses, how to promote human health through prevention of diseases. You shall be able to describe different types of nutrients, how digestion takes place. You shall be able also to evaluate different factors that influence dietary allowances, the RDS, and even be able to just know about issues with diet therapy, like the role of food in diet therapy and the principles that accompany the same. We shall have some few diseases of importance that need special conditions like diabetes. And we shall have some brief look at the home nursing, whereby we shall be able to look at the introduction to home nursing, the nutritional needs for the sick people, and we shall be able to look at even sterilization, disinfection of equipment. Home nursing is basically the care that is given to the sick patients while at home. When the patients have been taken ill and are being treated at the hospital, especially those with chronic illnesses. And in most cases, in many countries for a long time, the one that has been basically used is HIV/AIDS. So you'll find that such people are placed in like homes. They're treated at the facilities, and then they can be discharged and taken back at home, whereby we have a nurse, we have a clinician or a doctor who checks on the patient. We do have the other caregivers that are known to the person, and it helps the person to heal faster because there is a family environment. So we want to delve into that and know about how to do that home nursing, how to take care of the nutritional needs of the sick that are at home. We shall do something on food spoilage, we'll learn about food spoilage. I know that this one could have learned it in another course, maybe in nutrition and food science. But still, basically, we shall look at spoilage. How does food spoilage occur, and how can you tell that food is spoiled? Usually, you find that there's change in taste, color, texture, and we shall also look at different types of food spoilage and the causes of the same. So look at food poisoning, the meaning, the types and causes, preventive measures, the major food laws, that accompany the same, because we have food laws including those of additives, and because we need to find a way to differentiate food poisoning from food spoilage. There are usually two different terms that usually go hand in hand. They go together, and sometimes they can easily be confused. So food spoilage is very different from food poisoning. Food poisoning basically is caused by bacteria, the aflatoxins, and sometimes it could have been brought about by food spoilage. When the food got spoiled, it could have resulted into poisoning, or usually the poisoning may just occur on its own, especially like aflatoxins. You'll find maize are not dried, or grains, especially maize, if they're not dried well properly, if they're kept with that high content of water, or rather liquid with them, you'll find that they're likely to go bad. So with that, it's likely to bring about food poisoning. Then we have food preservation. We need also to know about its meaning. What is food preservation? The different methods. Usually have the traditional ones and the modern ones. And there are also some principles that on food preservation we shall be able to open up on the same. And lastly, we shall be able to look at the emerging trends in nutrition, therapy, home nursing, and also the challenges that are brought about them by these emerging trends, and also coping mechanisms. Emerging trends are just issues that are recurrent, or rather are of that time, like in terms of nutrition. You'll find that when you go through the nutrition that I shall cover shortly, you'll find that basically the emerging trends are like, there's some diseases that were not there after a while, they're recurring. For example, in children, there's a time that they were not very common. It was not very common amongst children, but now because of that, because of effects of, like, we call them antinutrients, those substances that interfere with other nutrient absorption. For example, you'll find that there's a study that was done recently in Europe about 3-4 years ago. And it was found that most children are developing rickets, or rather about less, because they're not getting enough vitamin D from the sun, and again they're being fed on spinach quite frequently. So remember, spinach has some antinutrients called oxalic acid that affect the absorption of calcium and iron that is present in the cereals that mostly the children use, like the uji. That is the most common snack that children are given. So at the end of the day, you find that the children are not getting the calcium that they need. It's bound by the oxalates present in the spinach. You'll find that there's also some findings, like in terms of how we prepare food, the food preparation. You'll find that, how did you used to prepare porridge while growing up, or how do you see your guardian or parent preparing porridge? Usually you'll find that most of them used to cook the porridge. After mixing the flour and the porridge is slightly cooked, they add milk and then sugar. But then with the current knowledge is that if you do that, first, if you put sugar, it stops what you call gelatinization. Gelatinization is the process by which the carbohydrates get cooked. The way you start cooking, and then they just like flour that is in water, kind of started clumping together, it forms a paste, and it has kind of bubbles. All that is gelatinization. So when you put it in the porridge before it is fully cooked, you're likely to stop the gelatinization process, and you're likely to feed on raw carbohydrate. You're likely to feed on raw maize flour or whatever fat that you're using. Also, when you put milk, it's been said that because of the antinutrients present in the cereals. Cereals are like maize, the millet, sorghum, oats, that group, the rice, those are cereals. So it is said that cereals also have phytates, and with that now phytic effect on other foods, it hinders the calcium and iron absorption in other foods. So it's not good for us to intake milk and the porridge at the same time, at the point when you put the milk, especially during cooking. Maybe after cooking, if the child is not able to really consume that porridge without anything else and don't have like a margarine to fortify it or some little sugar to make it tasty, you can still add some little milk, at the end of cooking. But during cooking, as you add in that milk, the calcium in the milk is bound by the phytates present in the cereal, in the porridge flour that you've used. So does that tell us? This informs us that it's important. It's an emerging issue, and we need to embrace it because most mothers have not embraced it and are not aware. So we need to embrace it and have it known to people. Just with that therapy, remember we are having a myriad of lifestyle conditions that are coming up. We need to have information on how we can manage such with diet. Home nursing, I've already mentioned, it's more about taking care of those patients. So just that point that you find that there are some people not able to cope with the huge, enormous hospital bills, so they would prefer taking their patients back home, or the patients may be at the hospital but they're not recuperating. They become even more sick, but once they're taken home, some of them are able to heal faster. So we need to explore on such, like how come, see the benefits of the same. So we need to know how to cope with these challenges that are arising. Maybe I'll emphasize on the part of nutrition. I've mentioned the later topics that we shall handle from the diet therapy and such like. Maybe I could focus on the area of nutrition, because remember our course title is what? Nutrition, diet therapy, and home nursing. So there are several parts within this course. So with the introductory part, in the introduction to nutrition and diet therapy, we shall basically introduce terms like definition of terms. There are sometimes the terms that are commonly used in nutrition and dietetics. So we shall know what diet means, what nutrition means, what food means, you may have known, and we shall just remind ourselves of the same. And then we shall look at the importance of good nutrition. What should people eat? Why should people eat well? As in wakule chakula bora, si bora chakula, eat a balanced diet, and not just balanced, but balanced and also diversified. That tells us that we shall delve into the importance of good nutrition and discuss further about the same, and also look at the meaning of diet therapy. In another topic, we shall look at nutrition and the consumer, whereby we shall look at the different growth spurts, just the period in which we find that people grow faster because there's a high hormonal activity within our bodies, especially in children and adolescents. It's very common, so we need to understand and know their nutrient needs. Remember at your stage, what do you like most? It could be around puberty, adolescence, or slightly past. You'll find that people, when they're at such stages, mostly they do what? The junk foods, the chips. We want bhajia. What else? Name them. Yes. So we shall look at that, the nutrition and the growth process, and also nutritional requirements for each and every of this group, like in terms of childhood, in terms of adolescence, in terms of adulthood, and even elderly, because that is the pattern of growth. We call it lifespan nutrition. Nutrients, we shall focus on different types of nutrients. We usually have the macronutrients and the micronutrients. Macro means large or big. Micro means small. So macronutrients are those that are required in the body in large amounts. And basically they're what? They're fats, they're the lipids, fats fats and lipids, they go actually hand in hand. We call them lipids, but we usually have fats and oils. Oils are in liquid form, while fats are in solid form. We shall explore that when we get there. So we have those ones, the lipids. We do have carbohydrates that we know, and we have different types. We have the complex carbohydrates and we have the simple carbohydrates. You'll find that we'll emphasize more on the simple carbohydrates, which are more required in simple carbohydrates that require small amounts in the body, whereas the complex carbohydrates are ones we're supposed to consume in larger amounts because they do have a lot of fiber that is good for our bodies. We shall look at functions of these nutrients. Oh, I was mentioning about the macro. So we have the carbohydrates, we have the lipids, and also have the proteins. And of course, water stands on its own. It's a nutrient, and we need to take it like at least 8 glasses per day. You can take between 8 and 12 glasses in a day, not just at a go, to spread it across the day. Then we have the dietary requirements. We have the importance of different dietary requirements, like different diets that we consume from those different nutrients that we shall look at. Of course, I mentioned the micronutrients are basically the vitamins and the minerals. And vitamins have different types. We have vitamin A, B, we have C. Of course, B complex, there's usually B1, B3, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12. We also have B9, which is folate. We do have B12 and we have biotin. With the micronutrients, quite a number. We have calcium, we have iron, we have phosphorus, which have you ever heard of? All right. Yeah, so after that, we shall look at each and every function of those nutrients. And now when you look at the dietary requirements, we shall look at what we require as human beings, like at different ages. A child requires some amount of nutrients compared to adults in terms of quantities. You shouldn't overfeed a child, because you feed as if you feed an adult, that child eventually starts becoming overweight and obese. And remember, childhood obesity is different. It's very difficult to correct. Yeah, then we have the dietary allowances, the recommended dietary allowances. We shall look at the factors that influence that, and we shall look at each of these dietary requirements in terms of the foods, and we shall look at some of the diet planning tools like food composition tables and the food guide. Right? In the fifth topic, actually, we shall look at digestion and utilization of nutrients. So by this time, I would expect you to have at least acquainted yourself with the digestive system. Get to the internet, get those photos. There are so many. Get to YouTube, get to some digestive system, how it works, the digestive process, how absorption happens. You'll learn that usually carbohydrates has the ones with smaller strands, that digestion begins in the mouth, and then the rest is done in the small intestine. There's no digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. Why is that? Maybe you'll tell me when we get there. But for protein, digestion only happens in the stomach, and therefore other nutrients we shall explore them as we go through. Food commodities. So we shall look at different classifications of food commodities, sources of food commodities, and factors to consider when choosing food commodities. Remember, before eating, you'll think of a food, maybe we'll have menus. How do you arrive at these menus now? Maybe you'll have more knowledge about the system, so that even as you plan, you're able to know what to buy, where, and what will influence you in buying such. We shall look at nutritional deficiencies, whereby we shall define the nutritional deficiencies, and with this we shall be able to break it down to the deficiency diseases. Remember, with nutrition, we have what you call undernutrition or overnutrition, and this is all encompassed under the umbrella called malnutrition. I know whenever you hear the word malnutrition, you always think of someone who is very thin, with the hair falling off, brown in color, you know. But malnutrition, mal means deviation from normal. So that means that we shall look at the deficiency diseases. So when we call deficiency, we shall look at the undernutrition. We may not really focus on the overnutrition, where nutrition is obesity and overweight and the diseases associated to them, like diabetes, cancer, and other conditions. With deficiency, we shall be focusing on the protein energy malnutrition, for example, kwashiorkor, marasmus. We shall look at vitamin A deficiency, the iron deficiency. So we have quite some work ahead of us, and I know that we shall be able to cooperate together as we learn through this, as we go through this course. And I know that we shall enjoy as you avail yourself every time, every Monday from 11 to 2, so that we can be able to learn together. I look forward to having you on those sessions. Remember, we shall have our live classes, at least 1 hour, 40 minutes to 1 hour. We shall be engaging live, and we shall have at least some 40 minutes to go through the audios that are there and make some short notes. And in case you have any question, if there is something you've not understood, we shall still engage through the session, through the class, and we shall be helped. So I hope that I've helped you at least have an overview of what is expected of us. This being a NEC course, we shall just do our internal examinations as usual. Remember, we have cuts, and our cuts are usually up to 15%. So we do have 2 cuts, each cut carrying 15 marks. That gives us 30. We do have 2 assignments, and each assignment gives how many marks? It gives us 10. For the cuts will give us a total of 20. Then the assignments will give us a total of 10. Then we shall have 1 main examination that is out of 70. So with that, I look forward to your cooperation. We shall engage through this online platform. We shall have quizzes. We shall have discussion forums. We shall have chats here and there. So kindly avail yourself and enjoy, learn. Even as times are trying, I know that we shall pull through. So I wish you well. Have a blessed time. Thank you.